Ever get that feeling, like when you're listening to a song and it kind of skips a beat,
Huh.
gets stuck in a loop?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Super annoying, right?
Totally.
Well, imagine that happening inside your very own DNA.
Yeah, not good.
Not good at all. Today, we're going to be talking about a group of genetic disorders that are kind of like that. They're called trinucleotide repeat disorders, and they happen when these tiny little segments of DNA, these repeating patterns, well, they repeat a few too many times.
It's like the volume's stuck on repeat and it just keeps going and going.
Exactly, and that can really mess things up.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's break this down a bit, shall we? What exactly are we talking about when we say trinucleotide repeats?
So picture DNA as this super long winding staircase, right?
Right, got it.
Each step on that staircase is made up of these chemical building blocks called nucleotides.
Right.
And a trinucleotide repeat is basically a sequence of three specific nucleotides that decide to kind of, repeat themselves a bunch of times, like way more than they should.
Okay, so far so good. But how do these repeating patterns actually cause problems?
Well, think about it like this. Our genes, they're like blueprints for our bodies, right?
Yeah.
Telling our cells how to build proteins. And those proteins, they do all sorts of important jobs.
I'm with you.
When you have these trinucleotide repeats that get too long, it's like scribbling all over those blueprints.
Okay, so it messes with the instructions.
Exactly. The cell tries to read the instructions, but it gets all garbled. And the proteins, well, they might not get made properly or they might not work the way they should.
Gotcha. So it's not like a single typo. It's more like someone spilled coffee all over the instructions.
That's a great way to put it.
It's incredible, really, how such a tiny little glitch can have such big consequences.
Yeah, it's really amazing, the complexity of it all.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump into some real-world examples of these disorders. One that often comes to mind is Huntington's disease. Can you walk us through that one?
Sure. So, with Huntington's disease, the repeat sequence we're talking about is CAG. And when this CAG repeat expands beyond a certain point, it causes problems in certain areas of the brain, specifically the areas that control movement, thinking, and emotions.
It's just devastating, the impact it has on people's lives, those involuntary movements, the chorea. It's just,
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to witness. And as the disease progresses, it can lead to more severe problems with coordination, walking, and even swallowing.
and like you were saying, it's not just the physical symptoms.
Right. Huntington's also takes a heavy toll on a person's mental and emotional well-being. There can be personality changes, mood swings, depression, anxiety.
It's a lot to handle for both the individual and their loved ones.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to another disorder, myotonic dystrophy. Now, this one seems to be a bit of a chameleon in terms of symptoms.
Yeah, it is. Myotonic dystrophy is caused by a different repeat. This time it's CTG. And what's interesting about this one is that it can affect a wide range of systems in the body, from muscles to eyes to the heart.
So we might see muscle weakness, but also cataracts, even heart problems.
Exactly. And the severity of the symptoms, even the specific symptoms someone experiences, can vary quite a bit from person to person.
It sounds like diagnosing and treating myotonic dystrophy could be quite challenging then, because it can look so different from one person to the next.
It definitely can be. It often requires a team of specialists working together to address all the different aspects of the condition.
It makes you realize how much more there is to learn about these disorders.
Oh, for sure. There's still so much we don't know.
Okay, let's talk about another one, Fragile X syndrome. This one has some pretty distinct physical characteristics, right?
It does. Fragile X syndrome is caused by a CGG repeat expansion, and it's more common in males than females. And you're right, it often comes with some noticeable physical features.
Like what?
Well, individuals with Fragile X often have a longer face, a prominent forehead and jaw, and larger ears.
Interesting.
They might also have unusually flexible joints and sometimes enlarged testicles.
I see. And what about the cognitive and developmental side of things?
Right, so along with those physical characteristics, Fragile X syndrome is also the most common known genetic cause of autism.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it can cause a range of intellectual disabilities, from mild learning difficulties to more severe intellectual impairments.
So early intervention and support are crucial.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got one more to cover. Friedreich ataxia.
Right, so Friedreich ataxia, this one's caused by an expansion of the GAA repeat, and it primarily affects the nervous system and the heart.
Okay, what does that look like in terms of symptoms?
So people with Friedreich ataxia typically start experiencing problems with coordination and balance in childhood or adolescence. They might have trouble walking, frequent falls, and difficulty with fine motor skills.
And you mentioned the heart is also affected.
Right. Many people with Friedreich ataxia develop hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a thickening of the heart muscle.
That sounds like a lot to cope with.
It really is. There's currently no cure for Friedreich ataxia, so treatment focuses on managing the symptoms and improving quality of life.
It's amazing to me how these tiny little repetitions in our DNA can have such a huge impact.
It really is, isn't it? These disorders are a powerful reminder of just how interconnected our bodies are and how even the smallest changes at the genetic level can have ripple effects throughout our entire system.
It makes you wonder what other mysteries are hidden within those twisting strands of DNA, and what will we uncover next? That's something to think about as we continue our deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes baffling world of genetics.